Hello and welcome to the show. Now the Pontiac Aztek is, well, really rather hideous and certainly never intended to go racing. However, seeing as it is included in Forza 6 now, we figured we would take a field of them and see how they would do around a racetrack. All of those running them completely standard, 185 horsepower, 210 foot-pounds of torque. Not the least powerful vehicle that we've ever gone racing with. However, the gearing is rubbish, it's quite heavy, and the suspension is awful. Basically, you will quickly see what I mean when we come to a corner. The first race would go to the Lime Rock circuit in the least spectacular. I think 100 horsepower cars launch in a more spectacular manner than this lot. They do not get off the line particularly well. And then we come to turn one, and look at all of the leading and all of the people managing to fall off the road as well. Yeah, these are not particularly good handling cars. There was quite a lot of people getting caught out by the understeer through turn one. Those that weren't, though, were finding themselves going too wide. The thing is, yes, these are pretty awful cars, but everybody's in the same boat. And when everybody, quite literally the same boat, when everybody is driving the same vehicles, that's when you get some of the best, some of the closest racing. And there were a few off-track excursions, a little bit of rallycross moments here and there. However, already we were going too wide, coming up the hill with very little in the way of room between all of these vehicles. Lime Rock is a very fast circuit. There's actually not a huge amount of overtaking opportunities around here as the black Pontiac tried to go around the outside. He manages to make it stick. A good move around the outside there, even with the wheel on the grass a little bit through there. In these opening laps, it was frantic, as you can probably expect, really, from these races. Car on the outside, ran a little too wide, brushed the tyre bump. It's such a dangerous tyre bump. Admittedly, in these cars, it's a bit easier because they're going so slow. You tend not to kind of ping off the tyre bundle back into traffic. There was a yellow car up ahead that was going a little bit slow and promptly gets mugged. You can't afford to make mistakes, especially in cars like these that don't have very much speed. You've really got to keep your momentum up. And when everybody is so close together as they were here, a little mistake could cost you 2 or 3 places. This white vehicle making up a good number of positions. These laps got past 2 and gets past a 3rd as they come into turn 1. But you've got to be careful not to overshoot the corner. Sure enough, runs a little bit wide, leaves a gap on the inside. The other car is alongside but can't quite complete the pass as we lean our way through the next corner. When we raced the limos, we said how difficult it was for the limos to overtake simply because of their sheer size, the amount of car you had to get past before you could be ahead. We were seeing kind of a similar thing with these because these were so slow and terrible through the corners. Actually getting kind of passes done and so on was, it was a little bit difficult. It's often quite easy for the vehicle that you were trying to overtake to come back at you later on through the corners. This was the fight at the moment over 3rd place as we run into turn 1. A couple of cars get a little bit together as they all try and fit their way through. The leaders were enjoying a little bit of peace and quiet out front. Not that they were particularly exciting cars, but they were enjoying the peace of being out front. When you were further back in the field, you were, pretty much fighting with everybody around as this blue Aztek goes for the cutback on the vehicle ahead and is going to get as he tries to get to the inside as they run down this back straight. Again, you can see behind another big group of vehicles. Now we're going to go too wide through this next corner. Scary corner going too wide, especially when you're on the outside, very, very close to the tyre bundle up there. And still, we are too wide in the Aztecs. That's probably not a sentence that been said very often outside of this video. In the end, the blue car couldn't quite make that manoeuvre stick. And the problem is now he compromised himself going into the corner. And that's what I was saying about you can't afford to be slow or overturn. You can't lose momentum. Just compromising himself, trying to go for the overtake there, has lost him. You can see the size of the gap that has lost him and is now immediately under threat from the black car as they run down towards turn 1. There's a big dive as they go on the brakes. I didn't quite realise how much these cars moved about and wallowed about until I watched the replay. It is mighty impressive. The black Aztek getting himself to the inside, but again, we've seen this happen a number of times during this race. You get to the inside on the exit of turn 1. It's not necessarily going to help you because then you have to go around the outside of the next turn. He just about holds it. Then you're going to be forced on a very narrow line through the next corner, and try as he might, couldn't quite get the pass done. The blue vehicle survives holds on to that position, and further back they were fighting over whatever position you could get your hands on, pretty much. Racing was, surprisingly good fun in these vehicles. Often when we race these ridiculous, silly, slow vehicles and so on, you get a lot of really close wheel-to-wheel action, and that was very much the case with these. Yes, they were not particularly fast, and yes, there was the occasional track excursion as they tried to fit 2 cars wide. They didn't handle particularly well. There was quite a lot of understeer in the vehicle, but because you're going so slow, you got to get away with running wide there. It didn't really affect this car too much. Yes, it brought the light blue car up into contention, but everybody got away with things fine. And now we're again going to be going too wide through this section. Everybody just about making it stick. A great maneuver around the outside there to get that position. The gold car having to drop back into line as they run down towards this again very, very fast final corner. I had managed to bump the wall on an opening lap, had to take a pit stop, and went to the back of the field. I wasn't alone though. This was a fight for 15th place between the cars that had been unfortunate and been in accidents and so on. Had to take trips through the pits, and we were going to be fighting very hard over this 15th place. I was coming under threat from the turquoise car, trying to get as much speed as I could up the hill to chase down the vehicle ahead, but in doing so, that put me out into the wall a little bit. I just brushed off the tyre bundle, slowed me down. Turquoise car is up the inside, but brakes a little bit too late. He's going to run wide on the exit. I'm keen to fight back, get my car to the inside again as we run towards the final turn. This is all over 16th place at this moment in time. Us two are fighting. The yellow car just enjoying a brief little respite from the onslaught. And of course, when you get stuck in battles like this, you do give the car ahead a little bit of chance. If there were vehicles behind, they'd be no doubt catching us very, very quickly while we were doing this. As we come back down towards turn 1, our little battle had slightly subsided, but yeah, even for 15th place, I was having a surprisingly large amount of fun with these vehicles. At the front, a much more lonely race for our leader. I'm not sure he started on pole, started very near the front. Either way, got to the lead early on and could vanish away while the rest of us were fighting. That is one of the downsides when we race all sort of single-make race like this. It's very, very hard to make up chunks of time. You can just about see second place, I think, further back. But when you're stuck in the huge battles, you lose so much time fighting amongst yourselves that, trying to catch up to the leaders can be a little bit difficult. But, of course, if you're leading the race, still got to make no silly mistakes. Further back, this battle went on for the remainder of the race between these 2 cars. The blue Aztek pushing his luck on the outside, dips a wheel onto the grass, feels the need to go defensive down into the final corner. The black Aztek getting a really, really good run around there. Of course, when you go defensive down there, you take a slightly shallower line. You can't quite carry as much speed as perhaps you ideally want. And while it was close, though, the black Aztek couldn't quite do it. He got a great drive, but in the end, the car, didn't really have a huge amount of go about it. But the first race, it had been quite a slow race. The cars had not been particularly fast, but there had been an awful lot of close racing, and that is what you want, really. Our second race, we went to the Silverstone National Circuit in the rain, because why not throw another thing? Not that it's really going to make a huge amount of difference, it's going to make the understeer worse. It wasn't really going to make massive differences to these cars. One of the vehicles up ahead got a very, very slow start, would drop through the field as we run. Quite a lot of cars were running wide. A lot of people, me included, got caught out by the just the levels of understeer through that first corner. It did take a couple of laps before everyone sort of realised what they were doing and kind of adjusted their driving accordingly. But again, they're not designed to be raced. They're not particularly fast or good handling, but everybody was once more close together, and because they were relatively slow, we saw one car have an off, but everybody else got through without any problems, and everybody's going 2 wide, and everyone's going 3 wide at this stage of the race. Again, the leader at the front was managing to make a little bit of a break for it, while the rest of the field were fighting for various positions. The car we're following having a go up the inside. The blue car's out wide. Turquoise car gets in a lot of trouble running 2 wide across the kind of AstroTurf out there. You don't want to be out there. Very easy to stick a wheel on the grass and get the car unlikely to spin. You're not really going fast enough, but stick a wheel on the grass, get the car sliding, or just get dragged well wide of the track. You're going to lose a whole heap of positions. The turquoise car was in second place before that particular manoeuvre dropped, absolutely plummeted through the field. The vehicles we're following are now fighting over that second place. The yellow car, though, getting stuck on the outside as they run down towards turn 1. Can't be too aggressive, going up the inside down here. There is a horrible puddle on the inside as everybody gets a mile of understeer. Ends up quite well off the track. Yeah, a little bit of touring car lines going on there as people just weren't quite ready for the understeer that these cars were going to generate. I had once again been started down the back of the field, so had a lot of work to do to try and make my way through the pack. Again, with everyone in identical cars, quite hard to actually make progress through this field, especially when there are so many cars around you, as we're now trying to go 3 wide down this straight. We're catching the turquoise car that ran wide again. We were to make it 4 wide. 4 wide in Pontiac Azteks at Silverstone. I mean, it's just, yeah, it was a really rather crazy thing. I was stuck in the middle. I think one of the cars on the very inside may have backed off. I got stuck on the middle, ran a tad wide, but if you do run wide here, provided you keep it on the track and don't end up really in trouble, like blue car that's dropped down the order, you can get yourself to the inside for this final corner, and that's kind of where you want to be. You can try and make up a position through there, but still we're solidly 2 wide. I couldn't quite carry the speed, took too tight of a line, lost too much momentum. I would have to fall back in line behind the turquoise car. And we were seeing this throughout the field, that positions were changing really rather quickly. I'm now immediately under attack again. As I said at the very start of this, that tiny loss of momentum can cost you a serious amount of time if you aren't careful. Very nearly cost me a position. Fortunately, I was running wide. The other car was running even further wide on that one there. He'd lose a place. I'd just about get away with it, but was again immediately under attack once more. There was a lot going on in this race. There was an awful lot going on, as we can... we can see here, so many cars were trying to fit into the same piece of road, and because they're quite heavy and quite slow, there's a little bit of a bump here and there. It never really did anything to affect the vehicle, so you could get away with the odd little tap here and there, and the racing was remarkably close, as I don't even know how many cars there are in shot at once down here of the hideous Pontiacs coming towards this first corner once more. And you certainly didn't want to be running wide. If you could take a much nicer line, try and get what little speed there was, but try and get the most out of it, as we see quite a few cars still struggling with that understeer. You're going to lose time by going out wide there. The vehicle we're following tries to pounce. There's just so little room to put your car when there's so many cars ahead of you, fighting 2 wide. The white car getting all manner of oversteer across the puddle. There's a little bit of a bump coming into the next corner. The yellow car gets tipped sideways. They all get away with it. Of course, these things being front-wheel drive, you get tipped sideways, you boot it, and the car will sort itself out. The blue or the purpley Aztek that dropped to the back of this train suddenly comes back again as they're all fighting and have all managed to slow one another down. And now there's a very, very big train of these cars trundling down this particular straight. And behind them, you'll see I was leading a group trying to catch up to this lot. The purple car gets a little bit of understeer. One car's run too deep and is off the track and is going to lose a whole host of positions. Indeed, he will slot back into the back of this group, and we're 3 wide once more. Quickly goes back to being 2 wide. The white car pounces up the inside and manages to get 3 cars, almost 3 cars in one corner. And we're going to get close up of the back of the cars as they come down towards the start-finish line once more. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy racing. You could make up 3 positions in a corner. You could lose 3 positions in a corner so easily in this one. And that's what made it exciting. The cars are not the most exciting vehicle, by far not the most exciting vehicles in the world. But because positions were changing so quickly, there was so much going on, it was actually really rather good fun. As again, we had a few cars running wide. The yellow car, dropping down. The white car taking the lead of that particular group. At the front, though, it was a very, very similar story this time around. The leader got to the front early on and vanished away from the rest of the field. You can see second and third behind him. When you weren't in that crazy group, when you were sort of driving around on your own, it was much easier to do lap times when you haven't got 3 cars trying to find a way past you. The racing up here, a little bit lonely, to be honest, because nobody was really able to gain on the leaders. Of course, as I said, you can't afford to be making mistakes out here, but if you keep things clean, you're always going to stand a pretty good chance. A little closer on this particular race, but at the front it was a little bit boring. Further back it was anything but. As I think that we were fighting over roughly 10th place at this stage. It kind of changed quite regularly throughout the course of this race. I was still in the mix. Kind of the 2 groups of vehicles back here had merged together to form one large group as we came on to the final lap. I was looking to try and make it 3 wide down the back straight. Just about got my nose up the inside. The turquoise car is stuck going the long way round, and he's going to get mugged by everybody if he's not careful. If you get stuck out there for too long, you will get passed by just about every single car. I was still trying to find a way past this white vehicle. Tried to go around the outside, but it's such a tough manoeuvre with everybody in absolutely identical cars to get that one to stick in the end. Just didn't have anything that I could do. You can see just about ahead of us, one of the yellow cars got himself in trouble going down the start-finish line, so we would pick up a position there. You can see that the amount of cars that were so close together in this final lap. Turquoise car and a beige car having a fight across the line as well. It was a really rather surprisingly enjoyable race, that one. So many position changes were going on. For the final race, we opted to do something a little bit different. Yeah, we were going to go to the Daytona Oval with the Pontiacs. We were kind of hoping to get them out of, was it second gear? The gear ratios are absolutely awful in these cars. I can't remember which gear it was now. They are so stupidly long. I don't think we got them out of was it second gear that's stupidly long, or third gear? We didn't really get them into any of the higher gears in the earlier races, because the gear ratios are very, very stupid. So yeah, we're gonna try something a little bit different. I love NASCAR. I love oval racing. I think it's a fantastic motorsport when everybody kind of knows what they're doing. We really haven't done very much oval racing on Forza 6, so there was a certain amount of trepidation about going to do this. You can already see one car slightly falling off at the back of the groups. Slipstream was going to be absolutely crucial for these vehicles, especially considering the vehicles are so large. They make a very large hole in the air, so the cars behind can get a pretty hefty slipstream boost, and because they're not very powerful at all on their own. And again, everybody in absolutely identical cars, any advantage you can get is very, very helpful. And we were immediately going 2 and 3 wide at most points. Amazingly, the opening lap, things went almost okay. There was a little shunt further down. I think a car managed to get a little bit upset by running down towards the apron. And again, when a car gets a twitch, when the pack's this close together, somebody's going to have an accident with you. There's nothing that you can necessarily do. So we did lose a couple of cars on the opening lap. The rest of us, though, made it through. I got into a bit of trouble. I kind of ended up at a point, I think I was running quite low, I ended up at a point where there was no cars ahead of me to slipstream off of, and I dropped back down the order. I had a pretty good first lap, but I quickly dropped down. There was a shunt up ahead. I had to find a very small gap to get my vehicle through as a couple of cars brushed the wall somehow, and I'm still not 100% sure quite. There was a kind of close your eyes and hope that you've timed it right to not get turned around by either of the vehicles as I darted through the gap. Made it work, though. Up ahead, they're going 4 wide. Down the back straight, so I could put my car wherever I wanted, and I was still having a slipstream. But you can see behind me, we were getting a slipstream train all following us. Unfortunately, bump drafting can be a little bit weird on Forza. Sometimes it works, sometimes the collisions get a little bit unhappy, so people were not always too keen about going for bump drafts. But with that mega slipstream all the way down the back straight, I had managed to re-catch this main group, sweeping around the outside of one of the black Aztecs that had been a little bit slow into the corner. We were gradually losing cars off the back of the train, and once you fell off the back of the train, that was it. You were not going to catch back up to this group. I had a mega run, and I don't know how on earth I did it. Absolutely mega run on the outside out of that corner. In the end, I couldn't quite carry the speed, and had to fall back into line. It's still a pretty sizable group of cars for a bunch of people who don't normally race ovals. We were doing pretty well at this stage. Again, running around this, I was going for a slightly high line. I was hoping somebody's going to come with me, and we could get a push, but yeah. In the end, nobody really wanted to join me up on the high side, and then I was out of the slipstream, and everyone was going to come piling past me. So it was worth a go. I had to try something at least, not just be sat in front or sat behind all of these vehicles. I got bored seeing the back of an Aztek constantly. I gave it a go, but again, you see, once you try that sort of thing, if someone doesn't come with you and give you a bit of a hand, you're going to fall to the back of the group. But again, no major problem here. I was still well within slipstream range, so if we made a move and dropped back, it wasn't a complete and utter disaster. And still this front group was running remarkably close. Again, a couple of cars trailing behind were well off the slipstream and pretty much out of contention, as it was all getting very close through here. it was always inevitable that something was going to happen. Someone was going to get a little bit impatient, someone was going to make a mistake, or someone was going to try a maneuver they probably shouldn't have done. And as we run into the first corner, it was 3 wide, someone got slightly squeezed, and the Aztecs went round. 2 of the cars falling through the order, and everybody else was trying to kind of correct and get themselves sorted out. 2 more went, had a big spin across the track. 4 of us made it through. A 5th car kind of made it through as well, although he was a little bit further back. There was kind of, always going to be, there's always a potential for a crash. You can see, you're close to the car ahead when the game can't quite decide what to do. It just makes the car invisible. So, yeah, there was a big chance that would put half of the field out, which left 4 of us fighting for the lead. I got myself to the inside. The 2 cars up high slightly got together. I don't think they quite realised that quite where each other were. That put me to the lead. It was down to a 2-horse race towards the line between me and the blue Aztek. If we could get enough slipstream behind me, he could try and sort of slingshot past me. These cars, they're not really powerful enough quite to do that. He gave it a good shot, and he was right alongside. But in the end, I would take victory with the Aztecs on the oval racing. It was a hell of a lot of fun, I gotta say. These cars were, really quite good fun to go NASCAR or oval racing with, I should say. Yeah, we did have a fairly hefty shunt. Would have been interesting to see what on earth would have happened had the whole front pack made it around to that final lap. Probably would have got quite crazy towards the finish line there. But yeah, the Daytona race was an awful lot of fun. Silverstone was absolute chaos for about 4th place back. There was a million position changes in that race. And yeah, Lime Rock was good fun as well. They're not at all designed for racing, but when you put a field of them together, of sort of similarly skilled drivers, you can have a surprising amount of fun. And I know that is a strange thing to say about a Pontiac Aztek, but there you go. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.